Have you ever found yourself quietly yearning for true inner peace while the noise of the world swirls endlessly around you in the stillness behind the chaos? Buddhism offers us age-old teachings, timeless wisdom that continues to resonate across centuries. These teachings gently lead us down a path of acceptance, of surrender, and of detachment. They whisper to us the comforting truth: what is meant for us will never miss us. It will find its way always at the right moment. Through ancient parables and sacred stories, we begin to learn how to release the weight of what no longer belongs to us. We learn to surrender with grace and serenity, to accept with open hearts whatever life chooses to place in our hands. Detachment is not about becoming cold or indifferent. It is not about turning away or feeling nothing. On the contrary, it is a profound and liberating freedom, a soul-deep clarity that allows us to fully live. Come walk with us on this sacred journey of self-discovery and inner transformation. Together, let's explore how to gently invite these teachings into our daily lives, and in doing so, step into a fuller, more awakened existence. The art of detachment, freeing the soul. Once, long ago, there lived a devoted monk. One day, he was given a delicate porcelain cup, a gift from his beloved master. This cup, fragile and beautiful, became his most cherished possession. He held it with reverence, admired its form, and kept it close by, never letting it out of sight. But one quiet afternoon, the inevitable happened. The cup slipped from his hands and shattered upon the stone floor, breaking into 1,000 scattered pieces. A wave of emptiness rushed into his chest until his master, calm and serene, gently said, "That cup, it was already broken from the beginning. This is the essence of detachment. It is not a practice of apathy or passive resignation. It is the wisdom of seeing clearly that nothing in this world lasts forever." And yet, how often do we resist this truth? How many times do we cling desperately to people, situations, or objects, afraid to lose them? We hold tight to relationships that have long ceased to nourish our soul. We chase after expectations that only deepen our frustration. We cling to memories that have turned into chains. We believe deep down that letting go means losing, but the truth is more beautiful than we imagine. Letting go is what sets us free. Buddhism teaches us that suffering arises not from what happens to us, but from our attachment to it. We grasp and we hold, trying to anchor ourselves in a world that is in constant motion. But real safety, real peace, comes not from clutching tightly, but from accepting the impermanence of all things. Once we understand this, something inside us softens. We stop viewing loss as a personal tragedy and begin to live with an open heart and a lighter spirit. Think of a river. It does not try to hold on to the water that flows through it. It does not mourn the droplets that pass. It simply continues its journey, trusting in the current. We too can learn to flow gracefully with life's rhythm instead of resisting its changes. How many times has life taken something from you, only to bring something even better later on? But when we are caught in the moment, blinded by fear and anxiety, we are unable to see the blessing in disguise. To practice detachment does not mean we stop loving or caring. It means we love without ownership. We cherish without trying to possess. We delight in the moment, fully aware it may change, and when it does change, because it will, we can release it in peace. Detachment is the first key. It opens the door to acceptance, radical acceptance, embracing reality as it is. Once a young disciple came to his master with a heavy heart. "Master," he said, "I suffer because life isn't how I want it to be." The master simply smiled and replied, "You suffer because you resist what is. Life was never designed to fulfill our desires. It wasn't made to please us. It was made to shape us, to teach us, to awaken us." Acceptance is often misunderstood. It is not about giving up or letting ourselves be defeated. It is not weakness. It is clarity, the courage to see life exactly as it is, without filters, without illusions, without self-deception. Why, then, is acceptance so hard for us? Because the mind has its own stories, stories about how things should be. We think that if we fight hard enough, we can bend reality to our will, but life doesn't work like that. Imagine standing on the shore and a massive wave rises up, rushing towards you. You can try to stop it, you can yell at it, resist it, curse it, but the wave will not change. Or you could dive into it, flow with it, let it carry you forward. The wave won't vanish just because we don't like it, and the same goes for life's challenges. Resisting what we cannot control only deepens our pain. But when we accept life exactly as it is, we reclaim our power. We no longer waste energy on battles we cannot win. Acceptance doesn't mean tolerating abuse or staying where we are harmed. It doesn't mean giving up on our dreams. It simply means seeing clearly, acknowledging the truth of the moment, so that we can respond wisely. Picture an archer, a master of his craft. He knows how to aim with great precision. But even he must contend with the wind, with the changing humidity, with a moving target. He cannot control these elements. He can only adjust his stance and aim again. In the same way, when we accept life's uncertainties, we stop spiraling in frustration. We shift our focus to what we can do. Sometimes we resist reality because we fear that accepting it means we've lost. But the paradox is this: acceptance is power. It frees us from the endless war within. It lifts the burden of trying to control what was never ours to command. It allows us to focus our heart and energy on what is in our hands. The transformation begins when we change the question. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" try asking, "What is this teaching me?" This small shift in mindset transforms our suffering into wisdom. It turns pain into growth. It lights a path where there once was only shadow. And acceptance isn't just about the world around us, it's about ourselves too. Our deepest struggle often lies not in others, but in our own heart, our mistakes, our regrets, our imperfections. But punishing ourselves does not heal us. True transformation only happens when we learn to accept ourselves completely, our light and our shadow, our past, our flaws, our choices. Only through self-acceptance can we begin to truly evolve. Remember the monk and his shattered cup. In that moment of loss, he realized something profound. Everything was already as it was meant to be, and in that understanding, he found peace. We too can find that same peace when we stop resisting the inevitable and instead surrender to the gentle wisdom of life. For in surrender, we find tranquility, and in that stillness, something sacred is born. Trust. Trust that what is meant for us will arrive, and what is not meant for us will arrive, and what is not meant for us will gently fall away. In the chapter ahead, we'll journey into a collection of Buddhist stories that gently reveal how life always provides us with exactly what we need, even when we cannot recognize it in the moment. These timeless parables invite us to trust the unfolding of fate, even when it appears mysterious, or painful, or entirely out of our control. Let's begin with a story of fate and quiet wisdom. In a secluded, peaceful village, far from the noise of the world, lived an old monk known for his calm presence. One morning, a strikingly beautiful wild horse wandered into his garden and made itself at home. The villagers, astonished by the rare sight, exclaimed with excitement, "What incredible luck you have! A horse like this is a precious gift, surely a great blessing." But the monk, serene as always, simply smiled and replied, "Luck or misfortune, who can say?" Not long after, the monk's only son attempted to tame the wild horse, but as fate would have it, the young man fell and broke his leg. Once again, the villagers gathered and lamented, "What terrible misfortune! Now your son is injured and can no longer help you work." But the monk, still unshaken, softly responded, "Misfortune or luck, who knows?" Weeks passed. Then war broke out. Every able-bodied young man in the village was drafted, every one of them, except the monk, son, who remained behind because of his broken leg. Again, the villagers came running. What great fortune this is! Your son has been spared. And once more, with the same steady tone, the monk replied, fortune or misfortune, who is to say? This seemingly simple story holds a profound truth. Life, in its infinite wisdom, moves in ways that our limited human eyes can't always perceive. Often, we rush to label events as good or bad, attaching meaning based on our current point of view, but reality is far more complex than our judgments allow. Everything is part of a much larger tapestry, threads weaving far beyond what we can see from where we stand. Think for a moment. How many times in your life has something that initially felt like a tragedy later led to unexpected blessings? Perhaps you lost a job you thought you needed, only to stumble into work that truly ignited your passion. Or maybe a relationship ended, leaving you heartbroken, only for you to later realize that its absence opened space for something far more nourishing to enter. Life has its own rhythm, its own flow. Buddhism teaches us that the universe never takes anything from us without reason. What departs? Departs because its purpose in our life has been fulfilled, and what arrives because we are finally ready to receive it, even if we don't know it yet. But to live this way, to really trust in life, requires patience, humility, and an open heart. Another beautiful Buddhist parable speaks to this lesson. A man was walking through the forest when he noticed a butterfly struggling mightily to free itself from its cocoon. Moved by compassion, he knelt down and gently helped open the cocoon, hoping to ease the butterfly's struggle. The butterfly emerged, but its wings were weak, undeveloped, and it was never able to fly. The man, though well-intentioned, didn't understand that the struggle, the effort to break free, was necessary for the butterfly's wings to strengthen. By interfering, he unintentionally denied the butterfly its own growth. How often do we do the same? We want answers now. We demand immediate outcomes. We rush the process, trying to control what isn't ready. We force doors open that were meant to open in their own time. But just like the butterfly, we need the struggle, the waiting, the uncertainty, because it shapes us. Trusting life does not mean becoming passive or indifferent. It doesn't mean sitting still and expecting things to fall into place without effort. No, trust means doing our part wholeheartedly, but without desperation. It's like the farmer who carefully plants seeds, waters them, tends the soil, but does not yank the plants out of the earth to make them grow faster. He knows nature cannot be rushed. Everything has its own pace. Buddhism invites us to witness life like an observer, gently curious rather than reactive. Instead of resisting the moment, we ask, what is this experience here to teach me? And though the lesson might not be clear right away in time, patterns emerge. Looking back, we can often see that everything, even the hardest chapters, served a purpose. To live this way means embracing uncertainty, which is never easy. But it's liberating. It frees us from fear. It loosens the tight grip of anxiety. It teaches us to savor the now without obsessing over what's ahead. Because ultimately, what is truly meant for us will arrive, and what isn't will pass. And on this path of trust, there is a sacred tool that can guide us through the fog: meditation. In the next chapter, we'll explore how the practice of meditation can ground us in inner peace, flowing with life instead of fearing the future. Rather than approaching the future with apprehension or dread, we can begin to look at it with gentle curiosity. Instead of asking, what if everything goes wrong, we can softly wonder, what beautiful opportunities might life be preparing for me now? Often, what initially appears as a challenge or a closed door is actually an invitation, an unexpected threshold into something more aligned with our truth. Time and time again, we hear stories, perhaps even our own, of people who lost their jobs and believed it was a devastating blow, only to later realize it was the catalyst that led them to discover their true calling. Relationships that seem to end in heartbreak often open space for something more nourishing to arrive. Life is full of such quiet wisdom, weaving events together in ways we often can't recognize in the moment. One of the most liberating practices on this path is detachment, not in the cold or indifferent sense, but as a gentle loosening of our grip on outcomes. It means doing things because they resonate with our heart, not because we are anxiously expecting something in return. Like an artist who paints simply for the love of colors and expression, without worrying whether their work will sell. Like a child immersed in play, not caring if they win, but enjoying the pure joy of the experience. When we move from this space, life itself becomes lighter. The pressure begins to dissolve, and in its place, presence flows in, and once again, meditation becomes an anchor, a steady companion that helps us sit with our fears without being overwhelmed by them. It allows us to clearly discern between what is in our power to change and what we must learn to surrender to. Letting go of control does not mean we drift aimlessly. It means we carry a quiet trust that no matter what unfolds, we will find our way. We stop trying to force life to fit a rigid mold, and instead, we begin to flow with its rhythm. And when we do this, when we truly allow ourselves to let go, a profound transformation takes place. We soften. We start to feel deeper compassion, not just for others, but also for ourselves. Because ultimately letting go is not only about releasing our grip on the outside world, it's also about loosening the tight inner grip of judgment, self, blame, and harsh expectations, compassion for ourselves and others. There is a story from the Buddhist tradition that speaks directly to the heart. A monk was walking down a quiet forest path when he came upon a man. The man was striking his chest, overcome with sorrow, and crying, "Master, I've made so many mistakes. I've hurt the people I love. I cannot forgive myself." The monk looked at him gently and said, "If a bird were to break its own wing for making a mistake in flight, how could it ever fly again?" Such simple words, and yet they reveal such profound truth. Guilt is like a heavy stone we place in our own pockets. It weighs us down and keeps us from moving forward. Compassion, on the other hand, is like the wind. It lifts us up and helps us continue even when we've fallen. In Buddhism, compassion is not just a virtue to be practiced with others. It is a light we must learn to shine inward. Too often, we are the harshest critics of ourselves. We replay our mistakes in our minds, speak to ourselves with cruelty, and demand perfection. We say things to ourselves we would never dare say to a friend. But where does that harshness lead us? Does it create real change, or does it keep us trapped in cycles of shame? True self. Compassion isn't about making excuses. It's about offering ourselves the fertile ground from which genuine growth can emerge. Just as a tree doesn't grow stronger by being hacked with an axe, but by being nurtured with water and sunlight, we too flourish when treated with patience. There's a beautiful Buddhist meditation known as metta bhavana, or loving kindness meditation. It begins by quietly repeating kind phrases. May I be well, may I be happy, may I live in peace. At first, this can feel foreign, even difficult. So many people struggle to wish joy for themselves. But as we persist, something opens, because only when we learn to be gentle with ourselves can we extend true love to others. Compassion also involves understanding that we are all navigating the messy journey of being human. No one is born knowing how to love perfectly or live without error. We all falter. We all learn by doing. The past, no matter how painful, does not have to define us. Yet, compassion does not mean passivity. It does not mean allowing people to harm us without boundaries. We can be compassionate and still walk away. We can forgive without forgetting. The difference lies in how we respond. Not with anger, but with understanding, not because they deserve our grace, but because we deserve our peace. The Buddhist tale tells of a man carrying a sack of stones. When asked why, he replies, "These stones are my grudges and resentments." The monk who meets him says simply, "Let them go. You don't need them to keep walking. How many of us carry that same sack? Heavy with old wounds, unspoken anger, past betrayals, we hold on believing it gives us power or justice, but it's only ourselves we burden. As a wise master once said, if you hold a burning coal intending to throw it at someone, you are the one who gets burned. So how do we cultivate compassion, especially when we've been deeply hurt? First, by remembering that people act from the level of awareness they have at the time. Those who cause harm are often suffering themselves. This doesn't excuse their actions, but it helps us not to take them personally. Second, by giving ourselves full permission to heal. We don't need to carry every scar for the rest of our lives. We are allowed to lay them down, to choose peace instead. And third, by embracing the truth that compassion is not weakness. It is the deepest form of courage. It takes far more strength to forgive than to hate, more bravery to let go than to hold on. When we walk the path of compassion, everything begins to change. We stop reacting from our wounds and start acting from our hearts. We become softer, kinder, more present, and that softness, rather than making us fragile, becomes our greatest strength, integrating the teachings into everyday life. One day, a young disciple asked his master, "How long will it take me to reach enlightenment?" The master replied, "If you rush, it will take much longer, but if you walk with patience, it may come sooner than you think." This, perhaps, is one of the most important teachings of all. The spiritual path is not a race. It's not about memorizing quotes or mastering techniques. It's about bringing those insights into how we live, how we breathe, how we relate to the world every single day, because it's easy to understand that attachment causes suffering. But applying that truth when we're in love or grieving or afraid, that is where the real practice begins. So how do we turn Buddhism into a lived experience? First, practice detachment, not by rejecting or avoiding emotions, but by holding them with open hands. When something beautiful arrives, receive it with joy, but don't cling in fear of its loss. When something ends, allow yourself to mourn, but do not grasp. Ask, am I holding on out of love or fear? Second, radical acceptance. Begin each day by asking, what can I accept today? Perhaps it's an unresolved problem, a difficult coworker, or even your own impatience. Acceptance isn't resignation, it's the starting point for wise action. Third, trust in life. When things don't go as expected, pause. Breathe. Remember the monk and his horse. What seems like misfortune today might be a blessing in disguise. Ask, what might this be teaching me? Fourth, meditate daily. Even 5 quiet minutes of breath awareness can shift your inner landscape. You don't need to feel perfectly calm. The goal isn't to stop thoughts, it's to observe them and return to your breath again and again. Fifth, let go of control, do your best and then surrender the outcome. Like an archer who releases the arrow without obsessing about the target. Some of the most beautiful moments in life happen when we stop forcing and simply allow. Sixth, live with compassion. Tiny acts of kindness matter. A gentle word, a smile, a moment of patience. Most importantly, extend that same kindness inward. Treat yourself the way you'd treat someone you love deeply. This journey is not about perfection. You will forget, you will fall into fear, you will cling again. But that's okay. Every day offers a fresh chance to return to presence. Buddhism is not just philosophy, it is a living practice. We embody it not by being flawless, but by being awake, by learning, by growing. So take this teaching not just into your mind, but into your breath, into your choices, into your life. And if this message touched your heart, consider subscribing to the channel. Share in the comments which part resonated most deeply with you. Have you ever experienced a moment when life revealed that everything unfolds in perfect time? We'd love to hear your story. See you in the next video.